I take pretty pictures in The Sims 2, and here's my guides on how to do exactly that. This video should be applicable to all players regardless of your chosen aesthetic, though if I forget anything, please do let me know in the comments. Over the course of this video, I'll be covering how to configure your game to maximize resolution, how to take screenshots in the first place, the basics of composition and lighting, and mods I use for even better pictures. This video won't be going into how to pose Sims, but I'll make another video if enough people are interested. So when you first install The Sims 2, it'll come in a really low resolution. Obviously, low resolution images look like shit, so we need to fix that. The easiest way to fix low resolution images is to use Graphics Rules Maker. This app just goes into your game's files and increases the available screen size options according to your PC specs, meaning that details won't be like obscured and swallowed up by the lack of pixels on the screen. There is one extra fix though. I don't know if everyone needs to do this, but I had to do it. When I applied Graphics Rules Maker, it said my screen size was 1920 by 1080 on the actual thing, and also in the game, but when I took images using gshade, the image size was 1536 by 864, which is weird. So here's a little clip of how I fixed that. You want to right click onto Sims 2 RPC on the desktop here, file location, and Sims 2 EP9 RPC. This is the instance of the game that opens up or when you use the launcher. So right click that, properties, and now you want to go into compatibility and change high DPI settings. So program DPI, yep. I open this program, override, and then system enhanced. Press OK. Press OK again. Amazing, look at that. Look at our resolution. Isn't that spectacular? Don't we love that? There are three main ways to take in-game screenshots, and some are objectively worse than others. The first way is using the in-game screenshots button by pressing C. This is terrible. Don't do this. Your screenshots will look bad. The only upside I can see is that it stores your screenshots in the documents folder of your game. You can then add the images into your family's photo album and log your progress that way. But you can just as easily move images from your PC into that folder and do the same thing. So really and truly, there's no positives to doing this. Now the next is what I'd suggest for most people, regardless of your PC specs, and that would be using an external software that takes screenshots. A lot of the Sims 2 players use Fraps, which is old school and does the trick, but it's kind of hard to get your hands on. I personally would recommend SRWE. It's completely free, open source, and you can even record videos and GIFs with it. This works even if you have a potato of a laptop, which I did for the longest time, so some of my videos on this channel are actually recorded with SRWE. But anyway, you can see the clear difference between the in-game screenshot and SRWE. At least I hope you can. The last way to take screenshots is only if you have a semi-decent PC, don't mind jumping through some hoops. This is also the method I use to take my screenshots. Now I use gshade to add post-processing effects in real time into my game. I don't usually play with my presets on, but I can still take screenshots whether they're enabled or not. Though there's no real difference between gshade screenshots and SRWE screenshots in terms of like actual like image quality, but this is mostly out of like convenience and personal preference for me. So you can use reshade, you can use gshade. The steps are very similar for either one, so it doesn't really matter. So gshade, go to download, Windows installer. I've already installed it. So gshade latest installer, press yes, it'll open up, press OK, press I agree. And so it'll ask you target game or program files. Now you would just go into your C drive, Magipacks, The Sims 2, Fun with Pets, SP9, TS bin, Sims 2 EP9 RPC, open, the next 32-bit DirectX 11. So that's just like installing, just like doing its own little thing. Open file location, and the DXGI file that's, where is that? Yeah, the DXGI file. So to get the, where you can see the extension, you'd want to go into view and then show, and then file name extensions. So once you've pressed that, it'll show like the whole name of the file. What you'll want to do is rename it, Control A to like get rid of everything, and then rename it to reshade.asi. It has to be reshade, cannot be gshade, has to be reshade. I think it's an RPC thing. Regardless, once that's been downloaded and edited, all that kind of stuff, you'll move it into the mods folder where RPC can then read the ASI file and then implement it as a mod, and then that should be it. we're gonna play a little game. I want you to decide which one of these images is nicer to look at. Is it image A or image B? Trick question, it's neither. They're both bad, but for two completely different reasons. In image A, you can see the in-game UI elements, whether it's slightly peeking through or front and center like it's the main act, but it's all completely wrong. Look how it takes you out the image. Like, sure, yeah, whatever, the image might look quite nice, but your eyes are still drawn to the UI. Like, whether you'll admit it or not, I know what you're looking at because I'm looking at it too. The easiest way to get rid of the UI though is genuinely so simple. Just press tab. When you press tab, you enter camera mode. This allows you to have way more freedom in your camera's movement. With WASD, you can move around quite easily, and with Q&E, you can move up and down to get a better angle of your sim. Not just that though, but like you can zoom in with either the scroll wheel, Z and X, and also the plus and minus keys on your keyboard. Image B is still shit though, and the reason why it's still terrible is because the plumb bob is visible. It's slight, but it's there, and that can really break the immersion of a nice screenshot. Obviously, if you like the plumb bob and want it visible in your screenshots as an aesthetic choice, that's perfectly fine, but it has to be intentional. And I think the issue is many people don't intend for it to be there. And my thing is, it's such an easy fix. The way to fix this is to press Ctrl-Shift-C to open up the cheats menu and type in plumb bob toggle off, and then it just toggles the plumb bob off and you can take pictures without any worry. Now that you've realized and recognized the fatal error in your ways, let's move on to our next rounds. Image C or image D? Another trick question, it's neither. Now, I was really considering putting this near the end of the video of my other mod recs, but I genuinely believe this is too important to not address now. This is why image C is so bad. If you seriously want to upload images of The Sims 2 onto the World Wide Web, you need to install No Pause Frame by Simnopka. I understand why Max has added the pause frame. When you step away from the screen, it's nice to have a visual indicator on whether the game's paused or not, but for screenshots, I better not see it. Also, don't think the other image gets away scot-free because there's no pause frame. Jarvis, enhance. Yeah, do you see that? I better not see this either. Seeing the Sims actions completely breaks the immersion of the screenshot. When taking a picture of the game, I want to feel as though I'm actively in the game with your sim. Even if I'm looking over them from a bird's eye view, the immersion should still be there. The easiest way to combat this is to go into F5 of the options menu. Once you're in this mode, you can then press tab and take that screenshot. Now you should have a beautiful screenshot with no UI elements, pause frame, or sim actions to distract from your gorgeous sim. I want to credit this next tip to one of my closest mates, rumraisn, who put me onto this app. Sims 4 players use this app called SRWE, which stands for Simple Runtime Window Extender. What that does is artificially increase the resolution of your screen so you can take even higher quality images. Now, I don't necessarily recommend this for like your regular gameplay screenshot. I typically only use SRWE for like character introductions, and for things like locked screenshots I don't really see the need because like 1920 by 1080 is good enough for me, but obviously use this to your own discretion. Okay, so let's pretend that you've properly posed your sim up and look amazing and you want to take a high resolution SRWE screenshot, and assuming that I am in that same scenario as well, I'm going to showcase how to do that. Now, I will say, before you start doing SRWE and all that kind of stuff, it's quite simple to save camera angles for your sims, just in case anything messes up and your camera moves when you're moving between applications. So the easiest way to do that is to press Control and then a number higher than 4 on your keypad, because I think 1, 2, 3, they all control like the time and how fast time moves in your game. So if you press like 4 and onwards, I'm pretty sure that saves camera angles. So saved your camera angle, and now you want to go into SRWE. So obviously open up SRWE, and then we press select running application, and then you're going to select Sims 2 EP9 RPC, open that up, and then we're going to want to press this one, which is the very first thing that you see here. And now you'll see width and height on 1920 by 1080, which is what I've set it to in the game. Now, the way to increase resolution is to just change the width and the height, and then afterwards you'd set. So you'll just go back into your game and screenshot it. So let me press F12. I've taken a screenshot. Yeah, it just makes everything look a lot more high res. Obviously, I don't do this for every screenshot, but like, see how smooth everything is? It's great. I love it a lot. But yeah, that's how you use it. By the way, check out rumraisn stuff. She's an excellent storyteller, but I am 100% biased because that's twin, that's bestie. So, composition. For the uninitiated, composition is how elements of your image are arranged. Determining how much space is between these elements can really make or break an image, as a good composition can really lead the eye to the subject of your image. You don't need to be a professional photographer, but it's pretty important if you want a visually appealing result. Now, I'm going to play another game with you, and I can assure you there are no trick questions this time. Which image out of these two has a better composition? Is it A or is it B? If you chose B, you are correct. Well done you. Here's your sticker. For the people who got it wrong though, I can understand why. From your perspective, these two images are essentially of the same thing. They're both capturing the same set of events, one is just laid out kind of differently. However, take notice of how your eye moves around the image. What do you look at first? Do you think I, as the photographer, wanted you to look there, or did it just happen to be there? The reason the other image works so well is because it's adhering to the rule of thirds. This is pretty much baby's first compositional technique, and it's quite easy to implement. When you overlay the rule of thirds on the image, you'll see each intersecting point has a corresponding point of interest. I want you to look at the Smiths dancing, so I'm going to put my crosshair on it. Here's the thing though, it doesn't necessarily have to be on the crosshair. Sometimes if you have like a tree or a building, placing a vertical line along the rule of thirds line can create a visually interesting look. So like just play around with it, see what works and faff around. And this is also why I love gshade so much, because I could just do this in game without like doing any extra faffing about. Okay, next round. Look at these two images. Which one looks better to you? C or D? If you chose D, you're wrong, and I'm going to tell you why you're wrong. The other image utilizes the foreground to create visual interest. With the foreground element of the cake, you can tell that this is in front and then Johnny and everyone else are behind. So it adds an element of depth to your image that you wouldn't necessarily get with the other one. You can also use your foreground element to lead towards an area of interest, which you can see in one of my screenshots here. Look at how front and center that book is. You think your eyes would go there, but they don't. You look at Mystique. This is also due to the fact that I use the golden ratio to like perfectly position her in a way that's pleasing, but using the book also helps to obscure all of the needless detail and acts as an area of rest. The rest of the image is super busy, so having a large element of nothingness is nice, but also like Xing off large portions of the image. We all know what a book looks like, so we're not that interested in it. Now I know I said that I'd teach you all about lighting, but that was a lie. My lighting is still bad, so I don't feel comfortable sharing tips and tricks on it. And what I do is I just use the in-game lighting, but sometimes my screenshots can look really, really dark. So just make sure there's enough light to actually see what's going on. But really and truly, I don't feel like I'm qualified enough to like give you great lighting tips in The Sims 2 because I haven't really like got that figured out yet. But when I do, maybe I'll do another video on that. Who knows? I tried to keep this list short and accessible to anyone regardless of your game's aesthetic, but I truly do believe these are the bare essentials for really pretty pictures. The first is Simnopka's no pause frame, that's obvious. The second, if you're not using Sims 2 RPC, is Simnopka's shadow fix. The third is Nick's Nivis's invisible lamp in case you're posing Sims and you want to just have a bit more extra control of the lighting. The fourth is Sims 2 RPC for better lot imposters and shadows. The fifth is lighting mods such as Radiance, Maxis Match Lighting, or Cinema Secrets. The sixth one is custom post effects. I just think it's beautiful, but if you don't have the best graphics cards, I would recommend playing with it. The seventh, or the last one, is C&K Extended Material Shader. This is for like, I'd say if you have a semi-decent graphics card, or you feel like your computer or PC is able to handle it. I think it's absolutely beautiful and it adds a bit more depth into the shaders of just normal in-game objects and your Sims themselves, but obviously it's not required. Well, hopefully this video was comprehensive or helpful in any way. If it was, please do leave a like, a comment, even a subscribe if you're so inclined. I don't know, I'm not your mum. Anyway, ta-ra for now.